Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 on rates. The concept that we were currently studying is 6.RP.1.2. We're continuing our learning of understanding the concept of what a unit rate is, as well as using rate language in the context of a ratio relationship. We're going to be continuing our work in our workbook pages, so we need to have your pages out and open to pages 35 and 36, and we're going to be writing the notes directly on those workbook pages. So please do that, and it'll save you a lot of writing time if you do it in your composition notebooks. So definitely write directly on your workbook pages. So let's go ahead and begin by looking on page 33, example number 3. Now before we read example number 3, I want to draw your attention to this little thing over here to the right that I put a red box around where it says key phrases. Key phrases such as per, in, and for every are often used to describe unit rates. I know this is one of the things that came up in class today, so it's important that when you see these, that you do understand that they could be used to describe unit rates as well as making them look like fractions as well. All right, so let's go on to question number 3, or example number 3. Example 3 reads, an adult's heart beats about 2,100 times every 30 minutes. A baby's heart beats about 2,600 times every 20 minutes. How many more beats does a baby's heart beat in 60 minutes than an adult's heart? Okay, you guys, this is like a 3-step problem in order to do this. So the first thing that you should do is find the unit rates for both the adult's heart and then the baby's heart. So we're going to be taking the first part of this problem. So this is the part that we're looking at right here. An adult's heart beats about 2,100 times every 30 minutes. So you can see in your book over here what they did was they went ahead and wrote the adult rate. So they said that it beats 2,100 beats in 30 minutes. This is the exact information that came from the part that I have a red box around. Well, then we have to simplify it. So you're asking yourself, well, what you need to do to get it to be 1, you want to make sure your denominator is 1. So what you do to 30 to get 1 is you divide by 30. So what they did here is they sat and thought about, well, what do I do to 30 to get 1? You divide it by 30. What do you do to 2,100 to get 7, or to get whatever your blank is? You divide it by 30. And that's how they got that. So basically you're still comparing 21 over 3, 7 over 1. I know I left off some zeros there, but just to simplify the problem. Now let me erase that part so we can do the next part. Now you're going to do the same thing with the baby's beats. So with the baby's heartbeats, here's our next one. It beats 2,600 times every 20 minutes. So baby's heart does go, it seems like a baby's heart does go a bit faster, and it really does, and we'll discover that in a minute. So now here, we write what the ratio is, and we have to simplify 2,600 to 20. So we end up getting 130 beats over 1 minute. So far, what we're going to be paying attention to is these two things right here that I put a box around. That's our main part right there because that's our unit rates. Because remember, the directions did ask how many more beats does a baby's heart beat in 60 minutes than an adult's. So now what we know is that we know how many beats the baby's heart beats in 1 minute. Because before we were comparing two different things. We were comparing 30 minutes, such as with the adults, and the babies, we were comparing it in 20 minutes, and they weren't the same thing. So when your bottom numbers don't match, like the 30 and 20 don't match, what you need to do is figure out how much for one, and then you could figure out how much for the full minute or the full 60 seconds. So with step number 2, you're going to use the unit rate for each. You're going to determine the number of beats in 60 seconds. What you're doing for step number 2, and I know this is written in your book here already, but when you're doing this, in order to do the adults, didn't mean to do that, meant to do this. In order to do the adults, what you end up doing is you do 70 times 60. Now the reason why we did 70 times 60 is we got the 70 from right over here. So we know that in 1 minute the adult's heart beats 70 times. We're going to multiply it by 60 because we need 60 minutes to get the full hour. So when you do this, here's my 2 zeros, 7 times 6 gives me 42. That's how I get my 4,200 beats in 60 minutes. Now we're going to do the same thing with the babies. We discovered over here that a baby's, and I did it again, we discovered over here that a baby's heart will beat 130 times in 1 minute. So we have to take our 130 and multiply that by 60 to figure out how much it'll beat in 60 minutes. So when you work that out, you end up getting 7,800. So now we know how much each heart beats in 1 minute. It's right over in this area. So now we have to subtract the two amounts. When we subtract the two amounts, what we end up getting is 7,800 minus 4,200. Your answer ends up being 3,600. So this right here is our final answer. So you want to make sure that you are able to explain this. This is part of the standard where it says that you have to use rate language in order to, to be able to explain what's going on here. We're talking about heartbeats. So when you're writing your sentence here, and this is modeled right here in your book for you at the bottom, what you're wanting to say is, and it's right along the lines of what we did in our previous lesson, so a baby's heart beats 3,600 times more, or it says more times, in 60 minutes than an adult's heart. So definitely give me the two that you're comparing, the two words, the baby's heartbeat to the humans, or to the humans, it is a human baby, the baby's heartbeat to the adult's heartbeat, and you have to tell me how many more times. So the baby's heart beats 3,600 times more than an adult's heartbeat. Okay, so now it's your turn to try this. So this talks about a hummingbird's heart rate while resting is about 7,500 beats every 30 minutes. How many more beats does a hummingbird's heart beat in 60 minutes than a human baby's heart? All right, so now we're going to be comparing information that you got in this word problem to the information that we just got done reading about the baby's heartbeat. So to set this up, you're going to have to do several things. Start by finding the unit rate first of a hummingbird's heart rate to begin with. That means how many times does it beat in 1 minute. So give that a try. Work through your steps. You could look at your page directly above it to work through steps 1, 2, and 3. Now you don't have a whole lot of room in your composition or in your books here. So if you need to use additional space, use your little line post-it notes you're supposed to have. You could do some of this on that and stick it in your book. All right, pause now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is write my rate, and what I want to write about is how a hummingbird's heart beats 7,500 times every 30 minutes. And notice I'm writing my words. Now I have to find the unit rate, how much in 1 minute. So I'm going to definitely have 1 minute on the bottom. On the top, I end up getting 250 beats. I should have an S there. Okay. Now the way I got 250 is I did my 7,500 and I divided it by 250. And when I did that, I got, I'm sorry, not 250. I divided that by 30. When I did that, I got 250 when I did my long division. So that's my first part. Now I know that in 1 minute, this hummingbird's heart beats 250 times. I have to now figure out how many times it's going to beat in 60 minutes. So I'm going to multiply by 60. I get 1,000, or I get 1,500, or 15,000, not 100, 15,000. So now I need to finish this out. I have to compare it to how many heartbeats the baby has in 60 minutes, which we got from problem number 3, or example 3, and that number was 7,800. So now I'm going to take my 15,000, subtract 7,800 by it, and I get 7,200 more beats per minute. So a hummingbird's heart will beat 7,200 times more than a baby's heartbeat in, I keep saying 1 minute, in 60 minutes. Okay, last example here. On this one here, it says 4 4 potted plants cost $88. What is the price per plant? It says write the rate as a fraction, then compare the total cost of the number of plants, then divide. Okay, so you guys, this is pretty basic. So what we're doing here is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write how much it cost and how many you're getting for that. $88 is for 4 plants. So I'm just going to write 4 plants here. Now, your goal is when you're finding a unit rate, your denominator number has to be a 1. So this is the part where I ask myself, well, what do I do to 4 to get 1? Well, in order, since I'm going down, I'm going to be dividing by 4. So I have to do the same thing up here. What do I do to 88, or what do I get when I do 88 divided by 4? Now, the reason why I'm using 4 here and here is because you have to use the same number for both numbers. And so 44 divided by 88, divided by 4 ends up giving you 22, meaning $22. And so each potted plant ends up costing you $22. So here's your next part. You're going to go ahead and complete questions 5 and 6 since we've already done 1 through 4. When you're done, you can do your work on here. If you need extra space, you could use a Post-it note, but if you do the work somewhere else, you must be able to show it to me in class. All right, guys, that's it for now, and we will see you back later.